The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
As a former New Hampshire state representative who marched with Dr. Martin Luther King in 1963, he currently serves on the New Hampshire Commission for Human Rights. He's a product of Birmingham, Alabama, where at one time he had to guess how many jelly beans were in a fruit jar just to be able to vote.
We've come a long way, but we're not there yet.
Together we will explore the visible laws, invisible laws, and the structures above and beneath our human surface that keep us reaching for the stars. It is his goal to work with you in putting Nashua back on top, to be voted the #1 city in the nation again.
We are in a crisis situation, and that's what we're going to talk about.
I'm Harvey Key. Welcome to Nashua Strong.
Hello, Nashua. My name is Harvey Key. I am the fellow that you heard in that recording that when I got out of the Army for the Korea conflict, I tried to vote in Birmingham, Alabama, and they wouldn't allow me to vote. Now, since that time, I've been on a tear about voting. I am mad about voting. I am angry about voting, and I ask the question, why? Why is it they don't want me to vote? Well, I'll tell you the reason is basically this. They don't want you in the system if they don't want you to vote. They don't want you to have any money. They don't want you to have any status. And they don't want you in this country if they don't want you to vote. They want you to work and work for them. Now, that is said, and I say it every time. My other pet peeve is having young women in our society with 2 or 3 kids, with 2 or 3 jobs, and no husband at home. That's deplorable. That's ugly. That's nasty. That's not acceptable to me. And we want to do something about it. The other pet peeve is respect. I say respect, ladies and gentlemen, because if you don't respect yourself and you don't teach your kids to respect themselves, they cannot but respect authority. They can't respect police organizations, social anything in our society, anything that has to do with civilization. It's trashed in their mind in many cases. Not all, in most, in a lot. And we just got to go back to that standard, I believe. And as you might remember, back in 1950, when there was a judgment made in this country that if you hit your child, you can go to jail. And since that time, in my opinion, I've been around for almost 100 years. I shouldn't tell you that, but I am. And I've seen things go from bad to worse and even worse. And today, it's horrible. But by the same token, all is not bad. There's more good in our society than there is bad. And all we have to do is keep looking for the good, and we become stronger and more able, and more humble to take care of that. Now, I have with me today a young fellow that I won't tell you all of his history, but I met this family about 2 years ago and sort of adopted them. My wife and I said they may have had some money because they came from England. We're not really sure, so we took them in. And I want to introduce you to the Coach of the Year, the soccer Coach of the Year for New Hampshire. Is it New England? New Hampshire. His name is Sir Winston Haughton. He hails from Birmingham, England, and he has taught soccer at Nashua South and Nashua North. And now he has segued into his own business, and he has not his professional training and coaching soccer in the New England states. And that's real congratulations. And all you people out there who say you don't have a job, can't get a job, and I can't, and my head hurt and the dog died. Look at Sir Winston. He's been here. How long have you been here, sir?
I'd say since 2001.
2001, 16 years. He owns a soccer business and it's raven with profit, I think. I'm not sure about that. But I just want you to know that this young man is the epitome of success in our society. And if he can do it, not if he can do it, you can do it. But if you got to have an imagination. If you have an imagination, you have the passion, that can become your genius if you want it. But you have to have those kind of things first. Self-respect, respect your parents, respect authority, respect the police departments and the teachers. And we have one of the finest educational systems in the country. And Sandra Ziem is one of our leaders in terms of being the president of the Board of Education. And she's a driver, a pusher, and an innovator. So let me just start with you, Sir Winston. I want to know, you've been here for how long?
16 years, yeah.
16
2000.
years. And why did you choose Nashua?
Well, it was a time when I was first traveling over to the US. I'd come over with a company.
Yeah.
I did a summer training, worked with kids.
You came to
in
Nashua
soccer.
with a company?
Initially, yeah, but I'd started coming out maybe 2 or 3 years before that.
Yeah.
Started working with a company, as I say, that worked with summer camps and soccer.
Yeah. But who paid you?
At the time, the company did.
Yeah.
This was before the 2000 year. So I learned a little bit about the areas. I worked all along the East Coast during that time, yeah. And then Nashua was the last year I did that year, that company. I came to Nashua,
Yeah.
which is just another stop for me at the time. And I liked the area. People were very friendly. And I went home. I also met a couple other guys that year as well. And they also had a wonderful time. And Nashua was a big highlight in terms of their trip out here as well. So the next time we planned on coming out, we planned on coming out to actually do something off our own back.
How did you find a job at Nashua High?
That came quite a long time after, but the early years, we started off with a local club in New Hampshire, and also at that time met some wonderful people as well that helped us out and literally accommodated us, gave us a good amount of work so that we could satisfy our visa requirements at the time and stuff like that. And that was our early, humble beginnings, yeah.
Great. So you've been here for 16 years.
Right now, yeah.
Oh, we're going to adopt you. You're going to stay with us.
For sure, yeah.
What sports did you play in elementary and high school?
I played all sports. I enjoyed cricket, which is a big sport I was in. Probably the heaviest sport I was in during my youth was cricket. Very British, English sport. Played soccer, obviously, basketball, a little bit of rugby. Those are the main sports, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you brought those skills and that passion with you.
Yeah, I mean, it was always a big part of what I did. Sports in school and in my spare time was the big thing, really. Yeah.
Did you go to university in England?
I did. I went to college,
Yeah.
Wolverhampton University. I graduated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you major?
Business
Soccer?
studies. Business studies and sports studies. So I did what they call a joint.
What is it called?
Business studies with
Business studies?
Sports studies as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we did like a joint, and I graduated in 1999, actually.
Let me ask you, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to call this guy Sir Winston because I want him to emulate and depict some of the great strengths of Sir Winston Churchill. He's one of my idols. And at one time when the Germans were killing the English folks, they asked Sir Winston to come aboard the ship and give them a speech. And he went on board and he said, "Men, never give up, never give up, never give up." And he said this 9 times. And he turned around and said, "Have a good day." Now, to me, that's a real speech. And everybody was happy that he didn't say much more. But it encouraged them, and they got their backs up and their courage up and their anger up and their arms up, and they beat the Germans out of their path. So sometimes we don't know how that works, but I hope that Sir Winston Haughton, when he's dealing with your kids or other kids in the soccer business in New Hampshire and in New England,
Yeah.
that he will transfer some of that spirit and esprit de corps from him and when he was a little guy to your kids so that we could have an ever better existing society. Now, what did you specifically learn when you were, to me it's discipline and liking what you do. I mean, those kids were not forced to play soccer, were they?
The ones that I now deal with.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. So that's a good thing about what I do out here. I've also done a little bit of time in the school system as well, and covered different elements and subjects and so forth. What I find is in the soccer world, all the kids are generally there because they want to be there, and it brings through.
Is
a
it
lot
part
more.
of a gymnastic course?
No, it's soccer. They come in to learn soccer at an early age or whatever. But they all want to be there. They all take it as their main sport, their passion, if they want to say that. A little bit like how when I grew up, it's something I wanted to do. So you didn't have to force me to go to practice.
Is
I
there
always
any
wanted to be there.
coursework to know, like plays and how many
yes.
people on the team and who does what, who does the kicking, who does the guarding, who
Oh
does...
yeah, I mean, there's all that.
Could
to
you tell
cover.
us about that?
Oh sure. So depending on what age group I'm dealing with, there's a number of players on the field. The big game, the adult game, is 11v11. So
11
11 outfield players, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
11 players, yeah,
on each team.
on each team, yeah. So 22 total.
And what age group is that?
That'll be anywhere above 13 years old.
13 and up?
13 and up, yeah.
What about 10 and down?
10 and down, so US soccer are changing the rules as and when they please, really, but it's generally to keep a good flow of the skills and so forth, to make sure that the right skills are being taught at the right age. So I think currently 10 and below is eight players on the field.
8?
8 players on the field, yeah. In fact, sorry, there's 6. Sorry, 10 and above is 8, and then when you get to 13 and above, it's...
Do they use different size balls?
They do. They certainly do, and I couldn't tell you the weight or dimensions, but I could tell you that they come in sizes. So the 10 and below will play with a size 3. The 12, or the 10 to 12s will play with a size 4, and anything above the big game will play a size 5.
That's great. That's great. I'm sure they don't mix them up because the 10 and below cannot play with a 6.
No one plays with a 6, but they can actually play with a size 5. But the flow of the game is a lot better when they play with their correct size. Yeah.
Did you play professional soccer?
I didn't play professional. No. What I did was I played through a professional club, which is Aston Villa, and I.
The name of it is what?
Aston Villa.
Aston
Villa.
Villa.
Yeah.
Villa.
Yeah. And
That's a professional. Is it still?
No, that is a
exist?
professional club, but I played with a youth system and reserves. So at the time when you come up, we have a collegiate system in England. Sorry, the US has a collegiate system. In England, it's a professional system. So at the ages of about 16 years old, you kind of fork off into 2 directions. A lot of people will go to school in the professional system, or they will go to the professional outfits such as Aston Villa or
They
Man
use that as their
United.
job, their employment.
That will become their employment. But in the US, you guys have it slightly different, where at that same age, 16, you'll go to college and you'll play your soccer through college, which is a collegiate.
Is soccer big in the U.S. colleges?
In the US colleges, it's huge. Yeah, it's a
Right
means
now?
of it's very
In New
very
England?
big. In New England, all throughout the states. Yeah, it's huge.
Really?
Yeah, it's huge.
Who is your idol soccer player?
My ideal soccer player, John Barnes, I'd have to say.
Wasn't Pelé?
Pelé came just before me, and I was actually seeing John Barnes growing up.
But
So
did John Barnes, the guy who went to California?
John Barnes?
Yeah.
No, he's still in England now. he was an English player of Jamaican roots, and he was a fantastically skilled player.
You still playing?
No, he's retired. now.
Retired. What
Yeah.
time? What now? You're not retired. You're
I'm not retired. Well, I'm not retired. I'm currently working for a living. Yes.
And the work is generous. The pay
Generous.
is generous.
Well, it's one of those professions that the more you put in, the more you can get out of it, both pleasure-wise and as well as financial as well. So
Is that your genius?
my genius
Is soccer?
I have you say that. Yeah, it's
Well-
something that I enjoy quite a lot. So
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great. Let me ask you. I asked you what brought you to America, not Brazil, Italy, or Germany,
yeah,
because those are countries that have great
yes,
soccer
they
teams.
do. Yeah,
And America's never won anything. Never.
in soccer terms,
No.
So yeah, it's a very good point. I think that when I first came out here, the sport was still growing. So you want to be somewhere where it's about to take off, or there's a lot of grassroots. In England, in that respect, even though it's a hugely popular sport and everybody plays it, it could be considered a saturated market in terms of everybody's already doing it, or there's so many major players already. So the US, I thought, was a place where I could put my talents to use and have upward growth in that respect. So
That's fantastic.
yeah.
Is it working out the way you expected?
it's going. It's been a very good experience for me. It's a great move. I go home very often still, and I tell everyone I meet back home that it's been a good move. I still enjoy my time out here. It's very good. I meet
Yeah.
people like yourself.
Well, you're very kind. Thank you.
There you go.
What does tell us, how did you get your first job at Nashua High, and who hired you?
So in terms of the Nashua High, I've never worked with their soccer teams in that respect, but as I said, I went in there with their school system. So
The
I was-
Nashua High school system.
for Nashua, the whole of the city. So I was like
All of the schools.
Yeah, all
so
the
you weren't
schools.
just at Nashua High or South,
no, I was at the elementaries and middle schools and stuff like that.
and
as
you
well.
taught soccer.
I would teach soccer, but I'd mainly cover the PE teachers and so forth like that. So I was like a substitute teacher, you call it out here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'd go in and work with the soccer players in that respect. Some of them I already knew through some of the soccer programs I already carried out. Others, new children that I would try and instill some of the love of soccer and stuff.
What? How do you get young kids to respect you? I'm sort of
In the
crazy about that.
yeah, in a football sense, it's I don't know. I wouldn't say I'm a shouter either, but I guess I have a
Repeat that.
I wouldn't say I'm a shouter in terms of getting respect. I wouldn't call myself a yeller. In
You
that
don't
respect.
shout?
I mean, you have to portray your voice at some stage, but I wouldn't say I'm a great drill sergeant in that respect.
Yeah, you're not a drill sergeant.
No, I wouldn't say that.
You pull your kids rather than push them.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Is that
That's a good way.
pretty good
That's
way
a very
of
good
saying
way
you
of putting
pull
it.
them along?
I pulling
Instead
them.
of punch them along.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, like, just in terms of how I deliver my sessions, I try and keep it moving a lot. So therefore, you get their attention and keep it, having people wandering around. And stuff
How
like
do
that.
the parents respond to you?
They've always been very, very receptive and supportive of what I do. And I think a lot of the success I've had, I can only attribute to the kids and the families that support you and travel to wherever you have to go and are constantly. I mean, in general, US parents, if I were to compare them to parents in the UK, are so much more supporting of the sports.
In this country?
In US, yeah.
More supportive?
Yeah, I mean, for
I mean,
instance-
I've gone to dance classes or
Yes.
gymnastic classes. It's like a football tear-up game. I mean, they're fighting and yelling and
Oh
screaming.
no! The parents out here are fantastic. They will go to any lengths to watch or have their children participate in sports. In England, people like it, but it's not always so well.
They're sort of used to it.
Yeah,
So
they're
it's
not
everyday
as
kind of
willing to. I wouldn't say this across the board, but pound for pound, US have more supportive sporting parents. Yeah.
Do you, by any chance, Sir Winston, get into broken legs and
Oh, you can
brain
do.
tumors?
Oof.
I mean, not tumors, but damages.
Brain damage.
Because they're running. And they're running hard and fast. And,
Yeah.
but it's not, soccer is with the foot, right?
Yeah, it's played
What's
with the
this
whole
with
body.
the head?
Yeah, so the ball is in the air a good amount of time. So before you mentioned the different age groups in soccer, and then I also mentioned to you the US soccer constantly changing the sport to make it more safer, make it a better development for the kids now. One of the key things that they do is they prohibit heading the ball up until a certain age, and then when they feel that they can both head the ball and do it in a safe manner, they start permitting the kids to actually start heading the ball. That at
You
the
said
moment,
heading the ball?
heading, using their head
And when
to
do they
contact
start
the ball.
that?
That at the moment is at 12. When
At 12. So
when
they
they're
can't
12.
use their head.
It's prohibited. I mean, they may accidentally, but it's vastly reduced the amount of head use. It's vastly reduced.
So you don't have any hospital bills?
Personally, no. So hopefully, it's concussions and stuff like that are reduced vastly. Yeah.
You didn't tell me who hired you in the Nashua school system.
So in the school system, it would have been the city hired me as a teacher to go in. The city.
Oh, the city?
The city
Of Nashua?
Of Nashua, yeah. They would have used me as a substitute to go into their PE classes, phys ed classes, when their teachers were out, basically. So I would go in that regard.
And substitute the physical ed teacher.
Classes, yeah.
And you could teach whatever you wanted?
I could teach whatever I wanted, but they always would insist I teach soccer, which is fine with me because that's...
Yeah.
Yeah.
And soccer was one of the, maybe your strong suit.
Yeah.
And maybe the person that you were substituting for had a weak suit.
Potentially, I would say that would probably be the case, yeah. So it was a good way to get that element into the curriculum, I would have thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you were to estimate all of that, what would you say is the number of kids? That's not a good question for you. I could ask. Well, maybe when you start teaching coaching, you were teaching first.
Right.
Because they got to know the drill, what to do, how not to do, where the lines are, and what some of the rules and regulations are.
Yeah.
Did you teach that?
So when you're at the younger age groups, you have to introduce the game a different way to say if you're coaching a bunch of men. Obviously, the men have been playing for a while, so they know everything about the game. So the youth, you kind of just figure out whatever population you're dealing with. 8-year-olds, you'll have to teach a little bit more of the basics. And say a 15-year-old, they'll know the basics, and you can catch up somewhere else, really. So.
Now you've left the school system.
Yeah, I haven't been in the school system now.
You
for a
were
few
with
years.
them for how many years?
I'd say about 4 or 5 years, maybe 3 or 4 years actually. Yeah.
Did you get to be well known?
Yes, I would say so.
Would you say you got to be well liked?
I would almost say so as well.
That's great. Well, I think so. I've adopted Nashua as my home.
Yeah.
And I love Nashua. That's why I call it Nashua Strong. There's so much stuff going on here.
Yeah.
The mayor, the public health director, Mrs. Bagley. They have my brother's keeper. They got you. I mean, it's just a whole great, diverse, inclusive society.
I'd agree, yeah.
As I see it. And I want to keep it that way. I want to help keep it that way, I think, because I think it's a lovely place to raise kids. You have a kid now.
I do, yeah. And I have another one on the way.
Wait a minute, you have one on the way? Is this kid old enough to play soccer?
No, not yet. She's doing a little bit at
It's
home.
a girl.
It is, yeah.
Her name is Kaya.
Her name is Kaya.
She called me
yes.
today and she said, Papa,
Papa, always Papa.
Dad is coming on your show.
Yes, exactly. She's
And
my agent.
He's going to bring my basketball. I said, it's not basketball. He's going to bring you another ball. But at any rate, how old is she now?
No, she's just turning 2 very shortly, yeah. So.
And the new baby is not yet.
Yeah,
Okay.
on the way.
And your
on the
wife
way.
is from London also?
She's actually, she's had some very interesting paths. She was born in England and she grew up in New Zealand.
She was born in England.
Yeah,
And you
grew up
met her in England or in New Zealand?
I met her in England.
Is she your co-coach or is she helping you coach the team?
She's my life coach.
She's your life coach.
Yeah, she's my life
And
coach.
what is her name?
Natasha.
Natasha.
Yeah.
And what does she do at home? Just take care of the kids?
Oh, she's a very busy lady, Natasha. She's actually a clinical psychologist.
A clinical psychologist?
Yes.
In the city of Nashua?
In the city of
From
Nashua.
New Zealand?
From New Zealand.
And we haven't put that up on our billboard?
I know, yeah, she does.
Well, let
she
us
does very
welcome Natasha Haughton, Dr. Natasha Haughton,
Precisely.
who is the wonderful wife of Sir Winston Haughton, who are new in our city, and we hope all of you 90,000 Nashuans embrace them, give them a big hug, and treat them beautifully, and go see Dr. Natasha.
Natasha.
She's a clinical psychologist, but she needs to be more than a psychologist to deal with this guy who's sitting right here. So she's a life coach. And they're here for, how long have both of you been here?
Oh, so together we've been here for 8 years.
8 years.
8 years, yeah.
And I hope you don't leave. I hope you stay here and make this your home.
We are very happy here, yeah.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. You have this business, a soccer business, and that's your business.
Yeah.
Registered and all that kind of stuff as a
yeah.
bona fide LLC, limited liability
Yeah,
business?
through New Hampshire. It's registered.
How many employees do you have?
So currently, I use temporary employees, but
Yeah.
initially when we first came out here, I gave you the starting. We would employ coaches from the UK and have them full time out here.
Yeah.
But as has the popularity of soccer in the US grown, we find that we can get very good soccer coaches and trainers from right here. So we now employ coaches from around the area.
Wow.
Yeah. So
And about how many do you employ?
I would say it's a transit number. It's like it's not a set number. We don't have any full time.
Yeah.
So we employ whenever we have a need for work and so forth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how many kids come to your camp? And I say camp. Is there coaching camp?
It is a camp. We call soccer camp. We have anywhere between 40. I mean, we do overnight camps as well now. We do vacation camps and summer camps.
Don't take me too fast, sir. You got a camp.
Yes.
Soccer camp.
Soccer camp, yeah.
For what age group?
Again, they go from 6 maybe to about 16, generally speaking.
Now, where is this camp located?
So, generally speaking, we go to different towns, and we say it could be in Nashua, and we will do a week of camp, Monday through Friday, throughout the day, and then next week will be somewhere else, say. And we'll
Now, do
another
these
camp.
kids spend a night in this
So-
overnight?
So,
camp?
as I was saying, we have overnight camps, yeah, where we have them for the whole day, and we have them at night as well. And then
What age group is that?
again, we will probably start that because it's a little bit more, probably about 10 years old. Yeah.
And where do you house them?
So we do it at a great facility, New Hampton School, which is a wonderful, I don't know.
New Hampton School located up north?
Up north, yeah.
New Hampton School.
Yeah, I think they're called the Huskies, actually.
Yeah, okay.
So, yeah, so
Now, they have a soccer team.
they do a very good soccer team.
And they're the elitist of the state, I think.
yeah. Yes,
They're called the Huskies?
the Huskies, yeah, they do very
Yeah,
well. Yeah.
And who do they compete against?
Let me think now. a division. I'm not 100% sure actually, but it's a private boarding school.
Yeah.
So anyone in
And
there,
that's high school.
that's like a high school, yeah.
It starts at 9 and go through 12.
No, sorry, that's where our camp goes from 10 to 16, but they will go from, say, I think their oldest will be 16, so they're high school ages.
Now, folks out there, listen to this. If you want your kid to get into something that is really, well, I think sports teaches a lot of discipline. You got to be disciplined to play sports. It keeps you off the street. It keeps you from smoking that dope. You know what I mean, those opioids. You don't have to guess, because I'll tell you, it's no smoking, no drinking, lots of sleep, lots of paying attention to instructions, which is called discipline. I know a lot of you don't know what that is, and a lot of the parents that are listening and watching me don't care what that is, but I want to assure you that if you don't care, your kids won't care. And if you get involved in something like this, contact, how could we contact you?
You could give me a call on my business line.
What is your number?
Oh, it's 603
603
204
204
9005.
9005. That is going to be called coaching.
Elite UK soccer
Elite,
training.
E-L-I-T.
Elite, yeah, E-L-I-T-E.
E-L-I-T-E.
UK
UK as in United Kingdom.
and training.
Training.
Yeah.
And we will have with you and your kids the coach of the year, Sir Winston Haughton, who's sitting right here with me, and he will be the lead guy and take your kid, and if you're not teaching them some discipline, he will. He will. He said, I don't use the sergeant approach. I use the pull-em approach. And I think that's pretty good.
No, and a good point, like the discipline aspect of soccer or any sport. I think that's one of the reasons why parents in the US really embrace sports and really will go to any lengths to really support their children in sports, because it does keep them occupied and away from, you want to say, bad influences and so forth. So it is a very important element of, I would say, child's life and having that sort of activity.
What's the youngest they could come to your camp?
To my summer camps, again, as I say, as young as 6.
6 years old?
Yeah, we have the real young ones.
Ladies and gentlemen, 6 years old, those little brats at your house who's giving you a hard time. You want to send them out and get a little discipline in a beautiful, beautiful sport and not have their heads all cracked in. Send them to the Elite UK
Soccer training, yeah.
soccer training,
Yeah.
being coached by the Coach of the Year 2017, Sir Winston Haughton of Nashua, New Hampshire. So, we're not going to wrap it up just as fast. We're going to give it a little bit more time. But I want the Coach of the Year to come back and bring a few balls and bring some of his kids, and we could see those kids on TV, especially the very young ones, 6 years, 7 years old, and have them dressed in their garb. And would that be something you could do?
Potentially, yeah. I could have some of them come up.
Yeah, you could just a group of them. And the parents.
And parents as well.
Yeah, they come and
Very
they
good.
could be on the show, and we'll have them talk about their experience with you in learning this beautiful game, and also learning what I think is most important, how to respect their parents and how to respect themselves. How do you think about that? What do you think about that?
I think that would be a great idea, yeah.
Do you think we need Dr. Haughton here to help us?
Oh, she would be fantastic.
You think she'd be
Yeah,
fantastic?
she'd
So
be
we could get
fantastic.
her on the show
There you go.
to talk about her business's psychology
Psychology, correct, yeah.
for kids.
She does all ages, but kids, she does actually specialize in kids.
Specialize in kids
Yeah.
of all ranges, of all kinds of,
Yeah, she
not necessarily problems, but solutions that could be passed on to some other kids.
true, yeah. That is, I would say so. It's a good representation. She deals, not that I know, but she deals with people from a number of different backgrounds, and different
You
issues that they
think
would
we
like to
could
talk about.
ask you to influence her to come on our show?
I will do my best.
And we could put that in the hopper, Mr. Producer.
There we go.
Dick, we could look at this down the line because we're lining up. And now we're pretty tight with the schedule. A large number of Nashuans are taking advantage of Access New Hampshire, which is the free. I don't want to call it free. Sometimes free has a tag that says it's not worthwhile.
Right, yeah.
So let's say it's no charge to our audience to watch this, and you don't pay a tax in a particular fee as you do with Comcast. This is gratis of the federal government, telecommunications. Throughout this country, there's always an access to a particular town that carries one of the major media companies like Comcast. So, ladies and gentlemen, please tune in to Access New Hampshire frequently. Look at what is next door to you. You can reach out and touch them. And not only that, we're constantly trying to build the foundation of respect for self, respect for parents, respect for our civilization, so that we could have a better world to live in. Now, we're not going to say goodbye right now, but we're going to ask Sir Winston a couple other questions. One is, I don't want to ask you how old you are, but I could do that for a guy. But for girls, I don't ask that question.
Right.
So, but you're between,
I'm
between 15 and 30?
1 and 100.
That's a pretty nice range.
There you go.
And have you ever had any physical problems since you've been playing soccer?
Oh, I've had my fair share of injuries,
Yeah.
but trying to steer clear of the physical reoccurring injuries. I think that one thing I would advise anybody who's playing soccer is to constantly do stretching. Your body can come out of line with years of playing a sport. They call it, your muscle groups can kind of pull against each other and put you out of shape.
Muscle group?
Yeah,
Pull against each
can
other?
pull your bones out of shape, so
Yeah.
you need to be
And
adjusted.
you'll be walking this way instead of this way.
Exactly, so
So we don't want to do that.
as flexible as possible.
The other question, I had a couple others that I wanted to ask you about your family. You told us about it. We're going to get to Dr. Natasha Haughton with some of her. You're going to have a baby.
Yes,
She's pregnant already.
she's currently pregnant.
Currently
yeah.
pregnant. Well, she can't. Well, I won't say. I want to not even touch that. Because when does the baby due?
In June, actually. Yeah.
In June of next year.
Yeah. No, this
This
year.
year.
This year. Yeah.
That's around the corner.
Just around the corner.
I tell you, I'm going to let you handle that.
Oh,
Okay, ask
I'm gonna
her-
let somebody else handle that.
Ask her if she would be nice enough to come and join us and just talk about respect, because it is so not only dear to my heart, it's dear to our society. It's dear to our community. It's dear to all the people who live in Nashua, not only Nashua, New Hampshire, that we got to get back to the basis of self-respect. And if you don't have that, ladies and gentlemen, you don't have much. And whatever you say down the road, if you don't respect yourself, whatever you say later on doesn't mean a lot, in my opinion.
It's true.
I mean, it's a jive, fake, nothing. And we could call it what you like to call it, but it is beginning to unravel our society. Lack of self-respect, and it's so simple to say it. It's so easy to say it. But our society is coming apart because we're not respecting ourselves, and we're not respecting our fellow man. And I tell you, it sounds like a preacher, but I'm not. I keep preaching this sermon that we have to do something now. And I have a few songs still inside of me, and I want to sing them before I leave this. I'm not leaving the earth in the first place, so I'll be around whether you like it or not. So let me tell Sir Winston, thank you so much. We're going to have you back, and we won't talk about time right now, but I want when you come back next time, I'd like you to bring some balls.
Some balls, okay.
And some kids with their attire, what do you call it?
Their kit, their uniform, yeah.
Their uniform, yeah.
Yeah.
And a couple, 3 parents, if you like. And let them just talk about how we can, as a community, continue to become stronger and stronger. For my favorite mayor, Jim Donches, and my favorite city, Nashua, New Hampshire, and of course our favorite producer, Dick. He's listening. I know he's cracking up. That's all right. Thank you, folks. This is it for Harvey. We'll see you next week. And thank you again. Please tune in to Access Nashua. See what we have next door to you. Sometimes we're just as good as what that national television is. And I tell you this, we're never slapping each other side to head. Have a good day. Thank you. See you next week.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.